Hey all, it's Matt from WoodWorks Therapy. Got another video for you today. And actually, I want to kind of bring attention to what's motivated this video. For those on my Facebook page, I did make a post where I was kind of inquiring about some different topics to talk about, because I have been slacking on the video content recently as much as I have aspirations, and this video actually kind of goes into a bit of a why about that. So I will get to those other suggestions, but this one has been one that's been kind of eating at me for a little bit and something I've wanted to do. And so I'm going to bring it in today and kind of talk about it. And so one of the inspirations that actually brought that was from this video by Xander Raymond Charles, YouTube guitar player, started out very kind of a small metal channel, Stay Metal Ray. So I've been a subscriber and fan from back in the day, and now he's out doing big things, touring with big acts. Don't ask me to remember all the names. It's not my strong point. Point is, the point of the video was kind of a reflective look at the influx of YouTube guitar players who have up and left the scene. It kind of drop their entire channels, like most prominent example being like Nocturnal Nick, or where other channels have been talking about their burnout that they've been facing, and kind of the chase for these metrics and the chase for relativity and inspiration and the struggle that each person can kind of go through when you are in a economy that is based off of content and likes, and how you're being surrounded by these metrics all the time. And I shared a comment in the video about my own struggles just with this here. I mean, this is obviously not a music channel, and yet I've struggled with very similar things, right? What is it to be enough as a therapist? What does it mean to have the right metrics? How do I know I'm getting seen? How do I know I'm helping the right people? How do I know I'm helping any people? Well, the struggle for that kind of measurement, right? To feel that satiety. And then when you reach burnout, it's like, what was it all for? What am I even doing? And I know I definitely don't want to end up in that burnout thing. And I also don't want to put myself in a position of chasing things that aren't relevant to me. And so it's been a topic I talk often with my clients about, and that is, what does it mean to be enough? This may seem like, at first, like a duh kind of question. You know you're enough when you're enough, right? Without a hint of circular irony with that, right? But what does it mean? So even if we just go being pretty word nerd here, what does it mean to be enough? Well, whether you're looking at the determiner or the pronoun or the adverb, enough is the required amount. Super specific, isn't it? Really tells you what that means, or what it means, how you know you've reached it. The required amount. But is there a universal measure that goes to that? So when we think about that, is what does it mean for something to be enough for me versus any other person? Well, for me, if we're talking about pizza, there's never enough pizza. I'm a glutton for good pizza. Microwave, DiGiorno, delivery, homemade, doesn't matter. I love it all, as long as it don't got mango on it. And thankfully nobody's brought me a mango pizza. But I could down an entire large, and that'll be enough for me. But is that enough for everybody else? Somebody may be able to put down 2, and that's enough for them. Or somebody may say just 2 slices, and that's enough for them. But who is right? Again, this kind of sounds like it's a, well, duh, it's unique to everybody. And we know that, but do we know that? Because enough is a quantitative statement. What quantitative is, it means it's a measurable thing, right? Qualitative being the opposite, not really the opposite, but it's partner in crime, where it's the quality of a thing, or whether it's good or bad or not. But we use the word enough in terms of a measurable. So when we say something is enough or not enough, we're making a quantitative statement. And it implies that, as I said, this is a measurable thing. We should be able to have a ruler, right? And it also implies that that measuring device is objective. You know, a measuring tape that just has everybody's own interpretations of what inches are Imagine if enough men got a hold of that. The 9-inch mark would be all over the place, wouldn't it? So how do we measure it objectively then? If we're trying to look for a universal thing, right, or something outside that we can rely on, it has statistical reliability or measurable reliability, how do we do that? Well, problem is we're often treating the subjective as the objective. So the subjective being what we experience, right, as it impacts us or the things we care about. We can take that and move it forward to being what it means to the rest of the world, right? It has to be objectively true if it has an effect on us. Go back to the pizza. It's objectively true that I can down a large, and that is enough. It's also subjective too, because it's enough for me. It's related to the subject, not to the object. So enough is a value proposition. We're saying when it has reached this particular quantity, it has this value, or units of enough have a certain value to it. So think about this. When we buy something, there's a price associated with it, right? On the sticker. We may not agree with the price, but at least it has some kind of cost, meaning there's some kind of value associated with it. And it's clear. If we don't think it's $1.99, but the store says it's $1.99, it doesn't matter. It's $1.99 if we want to walk out the store with it, unless we want a 5-finger discount. Don't do that. Then value also implies worth, that this has a significance of worthiness to it. And these two words are not synonymous, and we often use them in the same way, usually in our common speech. So we use one for the other, but they're not. As I said, it implies a level of worthiness. So what kind of implications does this have on self-esteem? If we come back from the idea of pizza and $1.99 stuff, what does it have on self-esteem? Well, to be enough, we have to see value in ourselves or the things we do in order to be deemed worthy, to have a level of worthiness. And through that, we're trying to attain, it's an attempt to attain a certain value through our actions or achievements. How do we measure enough? Well, what do you do? What do you give? What have you done? We're starting to move away from pizza kind of drastically there, aren't we? And how do we know that this is valid? Problem is it's only internally valid based on external measures. So we only feel a level of worth inside. When somebody out there or something out there implies that worth that we've achieved. But are those universal measures? Again, when we come back to the idea of universality, is how do we measure enough if we don't have a rubric, kind of a scale for which to judge whether something is enough, right? What does it mean to be close enough? What does it mean to be tall enough? What does it mean to be affectionate enough? What does it mean to be good enough as a musician, good enough as a therapist, good enough as a welder, good enough as a partner, good enough as a spouse? What does it mean in a universal way that we could be able to check this off? Again, I know that sounds like it's a duh thing. It varies from person to person, and yet we keep striving for one particular measure, don't we? Because even if somebody tells us we're enough, do we believe them? Because if we were enough, wouldn't we feel that inside? Wouldn't we be able to internally verify that through an external confirmation? When has somebody told you that you're enough, just the way you are? And did you believe them? Maybe sometimes, but maybe not. So if those aren't universal, so then how the hell do I know if I'm enough or not? How the hell do we even figure this shit out? So I'm going to give you a measurement statement for your consideration. It's a statement that I've been using with clients for a few years. And I'd like you to kind of contend with it. Because what I'm going to offer here, I would argue, is a complete statement. It gives you a complete measurement. And you will probably disagree. I am enough because I am. Period. Period's important there. The chances are, if you're anything like any of my other clients that I've had over the last few years, you both disagree and agree with it. There's a reluctant agreement. Like you see that, yeah, there's some kind of truth, I guess, to this. And we're trying to poke holes in it. Because again, we're looking for that internal validity of that statement. Because we don't want to believe that statement. Because certainly there has to be something outside of us that tells us whether this is true or not. So the proposition I give you then is, you're enough by mere existence. The fact that cells collided and colluded to bring your being into being gives you that value. It's inherently valued just for existing. Everything else is just things. They're statements of identity. They're widgets to sell. They're ribbons to collect. But it doesn't change your inherent value. Now, who gives us that value? That's a large existential and potentially spiritual and theological and philosophical discussion that, frankly, I don't have the strength or the give a shit to get into, because they have to be able to contend with this. They have to be able to say, not necessarily that it's kind of flawed, because maybe it is. Maybe you can poke some holes in it. But if not self-referential, that we have value just from our existence, then I challenge anyone else to give me a universal that would disprove this, a universal measure of enough that we would be able to use in all circumstances, in all relationships, in all times, that would disprove this. And why did this sit with me? Because I said, I've been using this for years with clients, and I struggle with this every day. I believe the truthness of it, and I also call it bullshit on quite a few occasions, because I don't want to believe that I'm enough, because I feel like I have to do more to be more, as if more is the point. That's fairly gluttonous, mentally gluttonous, that I've got to be more. I have a spouse who loves me. I have children who love me. I have a career that I love. I enjoy coming to this every day. And yet I still struggle with the idea that there should be more that I'm doing. I think it's one of the reasons why I gravitated towards Dr. Albert Ellis, the founder of rational emotive behavior therapy, when I was going through school, is because it really challenged me with these things called universal imperatives. What does it mean for something to should, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words, that something should be or shouldn't be, or must be or mustn't be, or ought to be or ought not to be. These universal imperatives that say, under all circumstances, things must be the way I want them to be and must not be the way I don't want them to be. Under all conditions, or I can't stand it. That sounds silly, because it is. And yet, do we operate any different? That challenge with being enough is what's kept me away from making more videos, because I've really struggled with that idea. And so, here's what I'm offering y'all. Take care, and I'll see y'all in the next one.